Alright, Shalom, Hebrews. This is Israel, Ben Israel for the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Israelites, I want to explain this to you guys, and then maybe y'all can understand this. That during the Babylonian wars, that how we never had a peace treaty with Ashkenazi. You know, it's proven that Ashkenazi chased us out the promised land under the name Scythia, and I'm going to go into their history, but how we never had a peace treaty with them. Because we ran into Africa, they chased us out, the whole Israelite army. And it never was a peace treaty because the Persians defeated the Babylonians in 538 BC. It wasn't no peace treaty between us and them when we ran into Africa. You see, so we've been at war with them technically for a long time. That's why all them folks been at us in the aggression, been at us, because it ain't never been no peace treaty. It ain't never been no peace treaty since the Babylonian wars, man. We had conflict with them, and they chased us up off the promised land, the whole African army, and we was at war with them, and it never was a peace treaty. It never was a peace treaty, and I'm explaining to the Ashkenazi community how, you know, the Sephardi's ain't got nothing to do with this, because, you know, the conflict was between Ashkenazi and the Israelites. You know, Ashkenazi under the name Scythian, they controlled Chaldea. You know, that's already understood. I got plenty of videos explaining this, but how Ashkenazi and the Israelites that they chased into Africa, it never was a peace treaty. And how, you know, that peace treaty need to come about now. And when this Israelite issue start heading towards a settlement through the Israelite Brotherhood, then that peace treaty gon', you know, start to fall into play. But I'm finna explain how it never was a peace treaty. Or this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. This is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. Alright, Israelites, check this out. I wanna explain how, you know, we never had a peace treaty with Ashkenazi since the Babylonian wars, man. I'm talking about, man, it's been the longest running war on the face of this earth, or the longest running conflict on the face of this earth, because, you know, man, it's like 2,608 years or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Since the conflict, you know, been going on in a long time. Man, a long time. And it's the longest running conflict on the face of this earth, in a sense. And that how that they been slick, ain't never talked about this, and this ain't never been mentioned. But it's being mentioned now, and I'm finna show. And it's easy to understand that it never was a peace treaty during the Babylonian wars, and we are the Israelites that was chased into Africa in the book of Jeremiah. That's already understood. And how a settlement needs to come about through the Israelite Brotherhood. Yes, and then this gonna get you Israelites that say that you was taken during the Syrian times. Then this treaty that come about won't even apply to you, because you didn't have nothing to do with the Babylonian wars. You wasn't around. So if any of you Israelites holding on to that false doctrine talking about that you was taken somewhere to the Americas in 722 BC anytime by the Assyrians, and I'm gonna show how that's false, and that how that when the settlement come with the Israelite issue, how you will not be eligible. You will not be eligible, for the simple reason is that if you say that you was taken during Assyrian times, then you didn't have the conflict with Ashkenazi during the Babylonian war. So therefore, this don't apply to you. So therefore, you can't return to the promised land. You see what I'm saying? So y'all about to run from that 722, we got took to Assyria, that 10 lost tribe myth. Y'all about to get from it, get from it real fast, because it's gonna catch you up before long. It's gonna catch you Israelites up, talking about that you left in 722 BC, and that the Syrians kidnapped 10 tribes, and that how that y'all went to the Americas, and you been over here in America in snake culture, serpent culture, how you was over here in serpent culture unmolested and so forth. So, you know, everybody that believe in that is going to get cut off, and you will not be eligible under any peace treaty that developed with solving this Israelite issue if you believe in a 10 lost tribe doctrine, because therefore you didn't have nothing to do with the Babylonian wars. You see what I'm saying? You was gone already. So y'all keep on believing that mess. That should get you caught up for long. You know, I got overproof how Ashkenazi coming to the Israelite heritage. That's already understood under the name Scythian, and how they settled in ancient Beth Shean, a place that we hardly ever had control over. And it was always some Canaanites and Amorites and everybody there fighting us from that place, and how they settled there. You see what I'm saying? And then how that, you know, the other parts that they settled and became renowned is Scythopolis, and how it was head of the Discopolis cities during the New Testament era, and how I got a video showing that Jesus only educated Scythians, Ashkenazi, under the name Scythian. But this is what this video is about, Israelites. I want to show that the Ashkenazi, we never had a peace treaty. We never had a peace treaty with Ashkenazi since the Babylonian wars, and how it never was a peace treaty. And this can kind of explain why them folks slick been at us for the longest, and how it is that it's been unrelentless, and how it's just been a grievous, continuous aggression towards us from these folks in Ashkenazi controlled land, which is the United States. You know, they can live in the background all they want to. We know who control America and so forth. Everybody understand that. And I even got videos explaining how the Sephardists come to the Americas a long time ago and established. And I was recently putting a little history together, not to be getting off the subject, meaning how the Phoenicians were none but some Amorite sellers, Amorite sea traders and so forth, and how that they just used that Phoenician name because the purple that they transported, but how that those folks went all around the Mediterranean and controlled, and then how they went over to the Americas and so forth, and connected with the serpent culture. I'm going to come out with that video before long, but I want to show in this video right here what I'm talking about is how that we never had a peace treaty with Ashkenazi, man. And Ashkenazi is who we was at war with, that caused us to be driven off the promised land. You know, ain't no question about that. I show that in plenty of videos, but I'm going to go into a little some of it now. And I'm showing how that they drove us off the promised land during the Babylonian wars, because we kept fooling with the Egyptian religion, and then it got us caught up. That's what destroyed us, is because we wouldn't let the Egyptian religion go. You know, I got videos explaining after the death of King Josiah, that, man, it was basically over, because, you know, the Egyptians put us on their religion, and then that allowed the creator to let Ashkenazi come in under the name Scythian, and then they, you know, settled in our land, and in this where they settled in Scythopolis. You know, Scythopolis is is where they settled. And that's the land that Ashkenazi settled in ancient Beth Shean and Scythopolis. And then they were Scythians. And then the Scythians made up, the Babylonian army and so forth. And then they try to be slick. They try to be slick about Ashkenazi history. I didn't have time to pull up all this. I might try to see if I could pull some of it up. How the Assyrians called Ashkenazi by his name, but they try to make you think the Ashkenazi name just come about during the discovery of Germany, saying that Ashkenazi and Germany and so forth is the same. But I showed that Ashkenazi name existed during the Assyrian times. Let's see, you know what I'm saying? Ashkenazi, the Assyrians called Ashkenazi by their name. All right, Syria called Ashkenazi. Let's see, Ashkenazi. You know what I'm saying? They had them in they scriptures writing. You know what I'm saying? And what they call Ashkenazi. Let me see what the Assyrians got for them. All right. Let's see the Syrians. Let's see. Man, the Assyrians called here it is. This is what the Assyrians call Ashkenazi. Let me see. Ashkenazi was related. The Assyrians called Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi, you know what I'm saying? Ashkenazi, you know what I'm saying? They were Ashkenazi. They was right on time. And then, you know, Ashkenazi will tell you that the Ashkenazi are Scythians. You know what I'm saying? And that they one and the same peoples. Ashkenazi are Scythians. And then one day they gonna change this, like the Sephardists, or somebody change Sephardim translating into Sephardi, and then how that I made them stop doing that, but it's recorded how it once did. You know, and then how you can't type in Sephardim and then it translating to Sephardi because they know that's blowing the top off the cover, but that's already did, and we know that it's easily to trace the Sephardis back to Sipper, where they originally from, Sephardim anyway, because of the capitalism that's been put on the world that's identical to that place, and only that place manufactured. You see what I'm saying? So it's real easy to connect them to ancient Sipper. Ancient Sipper, it's real easy to do that because, you know, that's where they from. And we can show where they from now real easy. We can show where they from real easy now. And I do it all the time. I show that the economic system, the whole administrative structure that we have here in what they call Western society comes from the Amorite culture. And the Sippers were the spots where the judges and the administrators, the power was, as well as Nipper too. But this is where our economic, administrative, capitalistic structure come from. Them folks, and they settled in our land in 722 BC. And then how that they didn't have anything to do with the Babylonian wars when we got into conflict with Ashkenazi after they destroyed Assyria in 612 BCE. I'm going to show you that. Alright, but look, biblical Ashkenazi, look. Alright. Biblical Ashkenazi is usually derived from the Syrian uniforms. So then they telling you, man, they telling you that Ashkenazi is them. You know what I'm saying? Ashkenazi is them, without a question. You know, the Ashkenazi is Azusa, and then those were the people that was with the that was with the Babylonians when they destroyed the Assyria, took Assyria down. And the reason they would destroy Assyria too is and then come immediately and get us Israelites is because we was hanging with the Assyrians. Matter of fact, we made up the Neo-Syrian Empire when the Assyrians only kidnapped 3 tribes. Now I show this all the time, but I'm going to show it again, and it's best to show it now while I'm talking about this, how the Assyrians only took 3 tribes. Now, if the Assyrians only took 3 tribes, then where the other 6 go? And then I showed that they come home in what's called the satire history of Egypt, and it's even in the Tanakh, how they come home, because the Assyrians came all the way into Africa, Egypt, you know, basically trying to hide and set up the satire kings, and that'd be the one that killed King Josiah, because King Josiah was pushing the covenant, a Yah worshiper, and the Egyptians couldn't come across the promised land. You know, we didn't play that when we was Yah worshipers. The Egyptians couldn't come across the promised land. And I'm going to make a video. I thought I had one of how we could have destroyed and killed Egypt just by doing Yah worship. Real easy. Real easy to destroy Egypt. In Egypt, man, I showed that the Egyptians didn't even come around when it was some real strong Yah worship. And the only reason they come by doing Assyrian times is because the tribe of Ephraim kept an association with the Assyrians and Egyptians all the way till they was destroyed, which destroyed us too. But let's look at this right here. Let's show that the Assyrians only needed the fighters because they was having a hard time with Ashkenazi, who destroyed them. Ashkenazi was in Assyria at one time, and they was had to put sackcloth on them. I think Prophet Jonah come through there, and then they had to put sackcloth on, and he wanted them all destroyed. And then how that they got spared because the Israelites was there. And I showed that Usher-Dan the Third was in power. Man, I got a video called the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Man, I kind of go into a little of his history and so forth. All right, let's get to Second Chronicles, and let's see. Now this would be First Chronicles. Yeah, here it is. And then look at this right here, Israelites. Man, this is how you know that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So anybody that's claiming a 10 lost tribe and that you was gone during Assyrian times to the Americas and other parts, you don't qualify under a peace treaty that the Israelite Brotherhood trying to get with Ashkenazi for the Israelites that went into Africa during the Babylonian wars. We the ones that was kidnapped and enslaved. So them doctrines about 722 BC kidnapping 10 tribes is getting cut off. Almighty Yah gonna cut it off. He gonna cut it off. He gonna cut it off, and he got the right one to do it. I ain't scared to cut you off. I ain't scared to cut the demigod worshippers off. All the others, man, we could work it out, but we can't work out no God Son worship. It's nothing to work out there. That's unnegotiable with the Israelite Brotherhood. The Israelite Brotherhood don't never want no members in the Israelite Brotherhood that believe in demigod worship, God Son worship. You know? But look, check this out, Israelites. Look. All right. This is First Chronicles 5:18. The sons of Reuben and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men
able to bear buckler and sword, and shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 that went out to war. All right, and then those the ones that the Assyrians don't need, because the Assyrians, men is having trouble. The Assyrians is having trouble with Ashkenazi later on, because Ashkenazi, under the name Scythian, started robbing. You know, first they was kicking it in Assyria, and Assyria let them in. The worst thing that they could have did. And look, that's the Uratus, the Cimmerians, the Paragons, all those folks can be considered Ashkenazi or Ashkenazi influence and related and so forth. Those are just the different tribes of Ashkenazi children and so forth and kindred. But the Scythians is outright Ashkenazi, right? That's outright Ashkenazi, and them gonna be they kindred. And then how that they was kicking it in Assyria, getting some education, because Assyria held control of Babylon. And the controller go back and forth with them Amorites and so forth. Now the Syrians were made up of Hamites that kind of got mixed a little bit. They kind of got mixed living in them parts, but they leaned towards the Hamite stock. And then I show where the different Hamite nations made up the Assyrian nation. You know, the Syrians always had the Mishwish tribes, the Libyans, the Mishwish tribes, who caused us to lose heritage as part of their empire. Let me see if I could pull that up, and then I'm going to finish showing about how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So you wouldn't apply under the peace treaty because it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So, you know, if it wasn't no 10 lost tribes and you claiming that false history, then you can't fall up under the peace treaty. It don't make no sense. All right. Nahum. This is in 697 BCE, and we know that, you know, what happened to that. He prophesied the destruction of Nineveh, which was the capital of the Assyrian Empire and so forth. And it come to pass, just like he said. I got a video explaining how he prophesied this destruction, and then how it come to pass in 612 BC, and then how he said the horse and bowman was going to get him. And that's Ashkenazi, the Scythians, right there. But as you read, you know, he's talking about Nineveh's power and so forth. And you know, and he was describing Nineveh's power and who was, you know, where they got their power. Ethiopia, Egypt were her strength, and it was infinite. Put in Libya were thy helpers, yet she was carried away. See, so, you know, the Libyans and the Ethiopians and the Egyptians, all them folks kicked it in Asia one time until Ashkenazi got cut loose. But then they was kicking it in Assyria with everything. And then Ashkenazi started hanging out there. And then Ashkenazi got the best of them. You know what I'm saying, with the Babylonians, because the Syrians was robbing everybody, and they was sending the Scythians out, Ashkenaz and them, to rob everybody. Everybody was robbing back then. It was just, everybody was robbing. That's what it was about, robbing. And everybody was robbing, and the Scythians got in the robbery game with the Assyrians going to rob everybody. And then they changed on the they changed on the Assyrians, and then took Assyria down, wiped them off the face of the earth. I got a video showing how the Assyrians was ethnic cleansed. How it wasn't none of them left besides maybe the ones that had escaped off into Africa, that had came when they had ran the Nubians away, the ones from upper Egypt, you know, lower Egypt. You know what I'm saying? We control upper Egypt, and then how that they got ran away by the Assyrians, the Cushites and the Nubians, and then how that they set up the Setite kings, who was Mishwish tribes, and then we had an affiliation with them going all the way back to Joseph, being given Aseneth by Pharaoh. I say that was strategic because the tribe of Ephraim kept a long-standing relationship with the Egyptians that eventually destroyed us. And then, I can show this. I ain't too far from that. And then I'm going to go finish that one verse out showing that how it wasn't no 10 lost tribes, because the Assyrians only needed the fighters, and then how that they didn't need everybody. And then how the Assyrians got defeated, and then how that they had a pact with us, meant to carry oil into Egypt. So it would have been impossible for it to be some 10 lost tribes. So anybody believing in the 10 lost tribe, when the peace treaty come about, that you won't be part of it. You won't be part of it. And I'm giving you a way out. I'm giving you a way out now. All right, this is Hosea 12. Ephraim feedeth on wind and followed after the east wind, and he daily increases lies and desolation. And they do make a covenant with the Assyrians. Look, and they do make a covenant with the Assyrians. And oil is carried into Egypt. So the tribe of Ephraim they never stopped doing that. And then that destroyed us. That destroyed us because now the Egyptians and the Mesopotamians can do trade. And as long as we had that covenant, look, you see how Assyria had everything surrounded and whooped and subdued, but Judah. That's because the tribe of Ephraim was on the Egyptian religion. They destroyed us. They destroyed us. But the tribe of Judah stayed true till they killed King Josiah. And then it was downhill from there. It was downhill from there. Jehoiakim. Ah, man. It was over with. And then, we go into Africa. But we was at war with Ashkenazi through the Babylonians. And I'm finna show that. But look here. Look here. See what it say right here. All right, well, let me finish that out. Showing that Assyria only needed the fighters, and then I'm gonna go show Ashkenazi being part of the Scythians, and that they one in the same. All right, look here. All right, so we see this is First Chronicles 5:18. The sons of Reuben, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh, valiant men able to bear buckler and sword, and to shoot with bow, and skillful in war, were 440,703 score that went out to war. And those went out to war. That makes sense that the Assyrians gonna need them if they gonna be fighting against Ashkenazi, some real serious folks that can fight on horses and shoot arrows, you know what I'm saying, from from the horseback riding. Look, and the Elohim of Israel stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tiglath, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh. That's 3 tribes. Look, and he carried them away, the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them unto Hala. And Hala, look, I showed during Ezekiel time that them folks would have met up with whoever was staying there in the book of Ezekiel, because that's in the same area that the folks took them to in 595 BCE when the Babylonians came and took the first little crew of Israelites off. And then we didn't get the understanding of what was going on. And then they come back and took the rest and chased us into Africa. We was at war with the Babylonians. And I could show the Israelite army, you know what I'm saying, taking off, ducking off into Africa. All right, I'm going to show that in a minute. All right, look. The origins of the Ashkenazi. Look. Originally, therefore, Ashkenazi in Hebrew was a No, that ain't it. All right, here it is. All right, the descendants of Ashkenazi was first associated with the Scythians. Ain't ain't nothing else to be understood. Ain't nothing else to be understood is that Ashkenazi was first associated with the Scythians. That's one and the same people. And then I even got during the Babylonian Wars when they came. But let me show Ashkenazi coming down during the Babylonian Wars, whooping, whooping on, whooping on everybody. Let me see if I can get that. I know I had that somewhere. Or Ashkenazi, was with the Scythians in 612 BC. How Ashkenazi was with the, alright, Nineveh. The fall of Nineveh. Alright, here it is. They the ones that destroyed Nineveh in the book of Nahum when he called for Assyria to be destroyed. Man, for keep bothering us. And then he called for their destruction. That's who he called for, the Scythians, Ashkenazi. And they came immediately, and they was with Babylon. They was with Babylon. Look here. Look here. All right. Nineveh. The Battle of Nineveh. And then this is what Nahum was talking about. Let's look this up because he called for their destruction. He called for their destruction, and it came. This is how you know it's a real creator. And he work in mysterious ways. And man, it's strange because I can't explain a lot of Almighty Yah's ways, but we know that, you know, see, he got our path and he have us do things for a reason. He have us do things for a reason. Alright, now let's find this here. And let's find this here. If I can find, all right, here it is. Nahum. Alright, let's see what this say. Alright. The burden of Nineveh. The book of the vision of Nahum of the Ishko. Yah is jealous and the Elohim revenges. The Elohim revenges and is furious. The Elohim would take vengeance on his adversary and he reserveth wrath for his enemies. Now, they got the tribe of Ephraim breaking the covenant, taking oil into Egypt. We already know that Almighty Yah told us we wasn't supposed to be fooling with the Egyptians. We already know that. So then, here you got a nation enticing that and enticing us not to be on the covenant. Man, that's going to get them destroyed, and then they going to come and attack Yah worshipers. Man, that's going to be the tribe of Judah, because the northern kingdom was messed up on Egyptian religion since Jeroboam, which was the same kind of religion that the Assyrians was on. But let's get this here. Now, let me see what it said. If I can find this real quick. How did that is going to be Leviticus 18. 18 is what I'm looking for. All praise be to the Creator. Much love to the Israelite community, and I do appreciate the support. I see the numbers growing, and it's going to be you Israelites that's studying with this history, that when them folks break that door open, they're going to be the first one to be called to go home, because you're going to have an understanding of the truth. We don't need nobody to go home when this peace treaty come about, talking about that they believe in Jesus. That's like these one Israelites was talking about Yahweh ben Yahweh. Hey, Yahweh ben Yahweh ain't taught no Israelite the real truth. You can't, his doctrines is sealed. Ain't nowhere in his message where he's showing that the Israelites broke the covenant for Egyptian religion, and that's why we're in captivity, because we ran into Africa. All of them come off that 70 AD and that 10 lost tribe stuff. The Jewish history, the Israelite Brotherhood is the only one that's showing that we ran into Africa during the Babylonian Wars. That's locked in. All right. So, you know, we don't need no Yahweh ben Yahweh worshipers walking around the promised land, giving praise to him, believing in him as a demigod. You know, a lot of these organizations gonna be getting cut off and can't make it to the promised land because of their doctrines and the way that they believe. You're gonna have a sense of truth in order to make it home. Because Almighty Yah say we'll know the truth. And we know that those doctrines that them Israelites believe in is actually Jewish history. It's gonna be Ashkenazi in itself hard history, and Israelites been claiming their history and so forth. Alright, but look, it showed that we wasn't supposed to go to Egypt, and did how the Assyrians messed the tribe of Ephraim up, and then how that they had to pay. And that's what Nahum was about, destroying the Assyrians, and that's what Ashkenazi came in and did. Look, and after the doing of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do, and after the doings of the land of Canaan, where I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinance. Ye shall not do, and ye shall do my judgments and keep my ordinance. See, but we wasn't supposed to walk in the Egyptian ordinance, do no trading with them or fooling with them or nothing. It was even understood during Exodus how Almighty Yah said, y'all ain't got no reason to be going back to Egypt because I give you everything, you know, and we shouldn't look back that way. So that was already understood. Man, let me see this. Man, it might be Exodus. Let me just look and see. All right. Exodus 14:13. Look. And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not. Stand still and see the salvation of the Elohim, which he shall show you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them no more forever. But yet the tribe of Ephraim was doing trade with them folks. They had the tribe of Ephraim sent out. I just showed you that in Hosea, how the tribe of Ephraim got sent out by the Assyrians. So you know, Almighty Yah vengeance gonna be on them because they got them fooling with the Egyptians. So they gonna get took down too in the end for that, for thinking that they slick. Everybody was to get us off the covenant. Everybody on the face, didn't nobody want us to have the covenant, because that would have made us the priestly nation and made their religions not good. See, them people was trying to fight for the survival of their religion, and we would have extinguished their religion if we would have worshipped Almighty Yah. And that's basically what it boiled down to, because the religions today come from them religions that we didn't destroy. Look, so that's why they got it, and what the prophet Nahum calls for a serious destruction. Ephraim freedeth on the wind and followeth after the east wind, and he daily increases lies and desolation. They do make a covenant with the Assyrians, and all is carried into Egypt. All right, so then that will be justification for this right here. The burden of Nineveh, the book of the vision of Israel. Yah is jealous, and the Elohim revenges. The Elohim revenges and is furious. The Elohim will take vengeance on his adversary and reserve his wrath for his enemies. The Elohim is slow to anger and great in power, and will not acquit the wicked. And he had his ways in the whirlwind, in the storm, in the clouds, and on the dust of his feet, and he rebuked the sea. Amen. No escaping, and the Assyrians didn't escape. Guess why the Assyrians didn't escape? Is because Ashkenazi come in on them horses that the brother Nahum was talking about, the prophet Nahum was talking about, and then that'll be this battle right here, when it all boiled down to, look, the Scythians and the Cimmerians besiege and sack and lead to the destruction of Assyria. And that'll be right here. Let me see, I got it on video. Led to their destruction. Got them up off the earth. All of them. That's a cold thing when the Creator say he gonna wipe all of you out, and then all of them get wiped out. all of them get wiped out because the whole Assyrian Empire vanished. Now, them Amorites, because we didn't destroy them at their base, they still around. The Edomites, the Amorites, the Moabites, the Ammonites, the Amorites, all them Semitic folks, and they, still around today because we didn't destroy them, and their civilizations and mischief that they create on earth is still, here because we didn't do away with them. But look here, all right, look, you see this here? All right, Scythians up there. And then this the Syrian Empire. And it went all the way over into Egypt. When they invaded Egypt, man, they come through. So they let you know that this 722 stuff about them taking tribes away is false. Because in 715 BC, I'm going to walk it down a little bit. In 715 BC, King Hezekiah had all the tribes at home and even said that we escaped the Syrians. Said that we even escaped the Syrians. And let me show that. And then I'm going to get back to the peace treaty issue of how, it'd be in Ashkenazi best interest to go on and settle this Israelite issue. And that'd be the peace treaty. Because we was at war. And we the Israelites that they chased off the land. And it never was a peace treaty. Alright. We even got the this where the arrowheads found that shot Jerusalem up, men that drove us out the promised land. Scythian arrowheads, them all the places that they was found. That's just some of the spots that they acknowledged because it was so many of them. It was so many of them. And them folks chased us out the promised land. Alright. Now let's see here what I want to do. I'm going to go to the book of Jeremiah. Oh no, let's go to Hezekiah to show that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So the folks that's hollering the 10 lost tribes, they won't be eligible. They won't be eligible under the peace treaty because they was taken away before then. Let them tell it that they was kidnapped by the Syrians, 10 tribes. So therefore they they don't qualify for the Babylonian captivity peace treaty because they was gone in 722 BC. This happened almost 200 years later, 100-some years later. So, they wasn't even in the picture. Let them tell it. All right. So we're going to go to 2 Chronicles 30. And then this is how you know that it wasn't no 10 lost tribes real easy. Is that King Hezekiah in 715 BC had all the tribes at home, basically except the fighters. And then I can assume that they come home because in 612 BCE, Nineveh was destroyed by the Assyrians. And then we know that they had already been into Africa. So, and that the tribe of Ephraim, how you gonna destroy them folks and they know their way home doing trade and stuff? It'd be crazy for 10 tribes to get taken to Assyria and the tribe of Ephraim doing trade, going back and forth from Assyria to Africa, Egypt, and then everybody just get lost. That don't make no sense. And then we know the Syrian Empire was around all the way up till they was destroyed by Ashkenazi, and how that the Assyrian Empire didn't just disappear off the face of the earth in 722 BC and went to the Americas like these Israelites be thinking with that crazy stuff, trying to save them natives and so forth. Trying to save the natives, but you can't save them because if the Israelite Brotherhood get in a position that it's only the people from the transatlantic slave trade and descended from us, and then you got to believe in Almighty Yah. And then you can't believe in no 10 lost tribes and Yawashis and demigods and all this stuff. All this stuff getting cut off now. All this stuff finna get cut off. Alright. This Hezekiah showing that there wasn't no 10 lost tribes. So therefore, that the people that believe in the 10 lost tribes can't apply for no peace treaty settlement when it do come about, because the Tanakh say it's gonna happen. Maybe this will put it in their heart to go on and speed it up. Look, and Hezekiah sent to all Israel And Hezekiah sent to all Israel in Judah, and wrote letters unto Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Elohim at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Elohim of Yah. For the king had taken counsel in his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the second month, for they could not keep it at that time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently, neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation, so they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan. And then let's go show where Beersheba even to Dan is. Let's go show where Beersheba even to Dan is. Beersheba even to Dan. Alright. See Beersheba. And then go all the way to Dan. You know what I'm saying? King Hezekiah sent the letter. And them folks come to the Passover, because it says so. Alright. So they established a decree and made proclamation throughout Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Elohim Yah of Jerusalem, for they had not done it of a long time. So the priests went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah, according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Elohim Yah of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remain of you that are what? Escaped. Look, escaped out of the hands of the kings of Assyria. And then as you read, you're going to see that he mentioning tribes. Manasseh, Zebulun, Ephraim. It makes sense that Ephraim couldn't get kidnapped and took into some other land far away, because he did trade between here and Egypt. It's impossible to kidnap them. Zebulun, Asher, you know what I'm saying? The names go on and stuff as you read it. And then all the ones that's not mentioned during King Hezekiah's time is going to be mentioned during his great-grandson, King Josiah, because we know that King Hezekiah's son, Manasseh, got to messing off with them Egyptians, and they snatched him and took him to Babylon, because we was fighting against the Scythians, Ashkenazi and them. And then, man, he got cut loose, and his son Amon wasn't no good. And then King Josiah come on, who cleaned up the whole Egyptian religion and tried to stop Ephraim from going to Assyria and coming back and forth, and them doing trade and so forth, which was ruining us. You know, so King Hezekiah, great-grandson, King Josiah, had the rest of the tribes that wasn't mentioned in King Hezekiah's time. King Josiah had all the tribes that wasn't mentioned during King's Hezekiah time, and he come on at 640 BCE, and then as you read down, they go to tribes: Manasseh, Ephraim, Simon, and Naphtali. Now the only ones that he ain't just mentioning is Gad, Reuben, and the other half tribe of Manasseh. But because they got snatched by the Assyrians to do fighting. And then we know that, you know, the Assyrians set up the Seti, the kings in Egypt, which would allow them folks to come back home. And then I'm going to show you that those Israelites come back home that went to Assyria. Man, if you go to Prophet Isaiah, let's see that, man. Let's see that. I ain't used that little history in a long time, and it's good to keep it sharp. Keep it sharp. Let's see, man, if I can remember. All right, let's see if I can remember. That's the most important thing. Here it is. All right. Let me see. And in that day shall there be a highway out of Egypt to Assyria, and the Assyrians shall come into Egypt, and the Egyptians into Assyria, and the Egyptians shall serve with the Assyrians, And in that day shall Israel be the third with Egypt and with the Assyrians, and even a blessing in the midst of the land. That's going to be them Israelites coming home that was sent there to fight during the Assyrian, who Assyria kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? Reuben, Gad, and Manasseh. Let me see if I can bring it up again, showing you the ones that they would need and that everybody else, they didn't need. And that how that them folks would have been able to come home because Assyria was going to be cool with us, which they did. You know what I'm saying? Because they needed help in their last days, and that's what they took them fighters for, to try to save their nation. But because we was on Egyptian religion, the northern kingdom, they got wiped out and beat because the prophet Nahum calls for them to get destroyed. But because they wouldn't allow us to do the covenant right with the tribe of Ephraim, taking all back and forth to Egypt, to Assyria, and so forth. All right. And the Elohim stirred up the spirit of Paul, king of Assyria, and the spirit of Tabnazer, king of Assyria, and he carried them away, even the Gadites and the Reubenites and the half tribe of Manasseh, and brought them to Hala and so forth, to the river. So we already know that they come back home. They come back home because I showed you that they did. All right. Now we know that Assyria was destroyed for their underhandedness, dealing with us, and that they got wiped off the face of the map. You know what I'm saying? Assyria did. And then that Ashkenazi come to our land. And then that's what the book of Jeremiah is about. It is that the Babylonian wars, Almighty God called them folks, and we was at war. And it how that them folks chased us up off the land. They chased us off the land, and how it never was any 10 lost tribes. And I showed it how the exiles from Babylon, that little 1%, had other Israelites from other parts as part of their community. But when you get in the book of Jeremiah, this is what we need a peace treaty from, because we never had now. There never was a peace treaty, and the Israelite Brotherhood represent that peace treaty with the Israelite, with the Ashkenazi community. Is when you get to you get to the really all the 40s and so forth, when we start breaking bad, and it was over. But we did Almighty Yah bad, because we told Prophet Jeremiah when we was getting chased out the land, the last part, when the Scythians was getting the best of us, that, man, if he'll go to Almighty Yah and see what we should do, we're going into Egypt. And he told us to go back home, and we said, nah, we're going into Egypt to stay. And the captains of the army took us there. They were scared of the Scythians. Look, and it showed we were scared of them. I'll show you. Look, then all the captains of the forces, Johan and Kerr and Jezaniah and Hoshea, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest, came near and said unto Jeremiah the prophet, let we beseech thee, our supplication be accepted before thee, and pray for us unto the Elohim thy Yah, even for all this remain, for we are left but a few of many, as then eyes do behold, that the Elohim thy Yah may show us the way wherein we may walk, in the things that we may do. Then Jeremiah the prophet said unto them, I have heard you, and behold, I will pray unto the Elohim your Yah, according to the words, and it shall come to pass that whatever thing the Elohim shall answer you, I will declare it to you. I will keep nothing back from you. Then they said unto Jeremiah, the Elohim be a true and faithful witness between us, if we do not even according to all the things which the Elohim thy Yah sent us to do. Whether it be good or whether it be evil, we will obey the voice of the Elohim, our Yah, to whom we send thee, that it may be well with us, and we will obey his voice, the Elohim our Yah. And it come to pass after 10 days that the word of the Elohim came unto Jeremiah. Then he called Johan, the son of Kerr, and all the captains of the forces which were with him, and all the people from the least even unto the greatest. That's everybody got up off the promised land. And I'm gonna show you the reason why. Because them folks, we were scared. If you go to 2 Kings, that'll be 2 Kings 25, verse 26. We're going to see what it say. We were scared of them folks. God, them folks had them bows. We didn't have them crossbows. They had crossbows. They created the crossbow. And then when they riding on horses. They riding on horses, and then they'll capture you and cut your head off and make a gold bone out of it and smoke some weed out of it. Tie you up and put your body parts on their horses and ride around with it. And nobody wanted to get done like that. Yeah, man, we was kicking it in Egypt. We might have been some slaves, but we can eat and run around. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we went back to. And we were scared of them folks. Look, and all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees. That's Ashkenazi control the Chaldean nation. Them the ones that took Assyria down. You see what I'm saying? And them the ones that come to our land and settle. And this is what we did. You know what I'm saying? Look. All right, so Jeremiah come back. And he said, all right, and then son occurred, and him said, after he come back after 10 days, and then he said to them, this said to Elohim Yah, the minister to whom ye sent me to present your supplications. He told us to sit. But, you know what I'm saying, and don't go into Egypt. But this is what we said. Man, we told him that Almighty Yah ain't say that. And that he didn't tell us not to go in Egypt, and that we wasn't going to listen to nothing Jeremiah say. And we went on about our business into Africa. And this is what we said right here. This is what we said. Let me show you what we said. Well, this is what they said too. Look. And it come to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people the words of the Elohim, their Yah, for which the Elohim their Yah had sent him to them, even all these words, then spake Azariah the son of Hoshea, and Johan the son of Ker, and all the proud men, saying unto Jeremiah, thou speakest falsely. The Elohim our Yah had said, you speak it falsely. The Elohim our Yah hath not sent thee to say, go not into Egypt to sojourn there. But Baruch said it them on. But Baruch the son of Ner set it thee on edge against us, for to deliver us into the hand of the Chaldeans, that they might put us to death. You see what I'm saying? So we were scared. We were scared, and we ain't never come back to the promised land. And we ain't been back since, besides those Israelites that escaped captivity, that's placed in the desert, and how that they ain't placed in prophecy position in Hebron and so forth. But this is what we told the prophet Jeremiah, because them folks was at us. Then all the men which knew that their wives had burnt incense unto other gods, and all the women that stood by, a great multitude, all the people that dwelled in the land of Egypt and Pathros, answered Jeremiah, saying, as for the word that thou hast spoken unto us in the name of the Elohim, we will not hearken unto thee, but we will certainly do so whatever thing go forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings, our princes, in the cities of Judah and the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil. But since we left off to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and the famine. So we see it, because Ashkenazi was getting the best of us, that we was going into Africa to live and stay. And we abandoned the covenant. We abandoned the covenant. Well, we was at war with Ashkenazi. It never was a peace treaty. It never was a peace treaty. And this can kind of explain why them folks been at us for the longest, because it's been the longest continuous running conflict in history. You know what I'm saying? Man, it's been the longest conflict running in history, man. And man, it needs to come to an end. It needs to come to an end. It needs to come to an end. You know what I'm saying? That's why man, you know, you Israelites, man, got to have a little knowledge, man, about what happened in the past. And, you know, you believing in them other organizations, man, I say that they done failed Israelites. Them organizations that y'all believe in is not gonna get you to your destination, because they don't know nothing about no settlement. They don't know nothing about Ashkenazi. They don't know nothing about what we've been through. They just think we went into Africa in 70 AD because of Edomite tribe, Edomite temple got burned up. Your organization not going to get you to our destination, the promised land. Your organization ain't gonna get us there. You know what I'm saying? And then that's another thing. It's 15 million different doctrines. 15 million, I mean, it's 20 million different doctrines in the Israelite community when only one thing happened to us all. You know what I'm saying? There's only one thing happened to us all. And then I'm telling you, Israelites that believe in those Jewish myths that won't shake them, that when the door open for the Israelite Brotherhood, everybody not going home. Everybody not going home. That's for me. That you're not going home. You won't go through the Israelite Brotherhood, because it wouldn't make no sense for the Israelites to go back to the promised land and start the same stuff in the same worship, but just in a little different form that got us kicked out. Nah, we ain't doing that. We're going to run a tight ship. And then that's why come is like this. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept. Precept upon precept, land upon land, land upon land, a little here, a little there. For with a stammering lip and another tongue will he speak to this people. He's speaking to you now. He's speaking to you now. That if you don't come through the Israelite Brotherhood, when them folks open the door, is that you is not going back to the promised land. You is not going back to the promised land to worship Yawashi. You ain't going back to the promised land to believe in Yahweh ben Yahweh. Man, all that stuff staying in captivity, and that how we gonna get a new start, because we got a job to do when we get home, and we ain't gonna have all that false worship in them Israelites with them messed up crazy doctrines meant to get us in the meat grinder when we get over there, because we got to get it up with Edom. And we ain't going to have Almighty Yah on our side if we believing in demigod worship and 12, 10 lost tribes and all that stuff. Man, that's going to put us in the meat grinder. We ain't going to go there. We're going to go back with some secure history so we can have some secure footing, so we can do the things that need to be done to bring prophecy to an end, to bring this Israelite issue to an end. That's what the Israelite Brotherhood is for, bringing the Israelite issue to an end, getting it solved. All right, y'all, man, I think I done showed enough, meaning how it need to be a peace treaty, because Ashkenazi was the Scythians, and the Scythians are the ones that chased us into Africa. I want to read this a little bit too. Oh man, what in the world is this thing doing? Let's see. I want to read this a little bit. Alright, from the Hellenistic period, these folks full of crap. I already show how they was around during the Babylonian era, and then how that they was above, how the Scythians was above Assyria, so it makes sure, but they settled in ancient Bethshan. And then how that they was with the Greeks when they come into Africa, man, to try to get at us when they called us Gramentian. Look, from the Hellenistic period until the Arab conquest, biblical Bethshan was known as Scythopolis. Scythopolis, that's where the Scythians, look, the city of the Scythians. The Scythians were a group of nomad tribes living in classical times in what is now southern Russia. Now, the earliest author to mention Scythians mean they been in our heritage, man. They been in our heritage since the Babylonian Wars when they chased us into Africa, and then they been keeping it quiet. They've been keeping it quiet because the Sephardists and Ashkenazi been sharing our heritage, and one just ain't been wanting to tell on the other, but they create religions to fight against each other. Christianity and so forth been in Ashkenazi hand, and I showed that Jesus only spent his time with Ashkenazi in the Discopolis, and how Scythopolis was the head capital of the Discopolis. It controlled the rest of them. And that's what Ashkenazi settled at after the Babylonian Wars, after they chased us into Africa, and after we went into Africa to do the Egyptian religion, how they stayed in our land. So the war was still going on. The war still been going on in a sense, but the war was going on, and it never was a peace treaty between us and them. It never was a peace treaty between us and them because they got defeated by the Persians. It wasn't no peace treaty if they got defeated by the Persians, and it wasn't by no treaty. They got defeated in battle. Babylon got defeated in battle. All right? It wasn't no peace treaty. Them folks were still around, and they were still around in our land. They still around today. And it never was no peace treaty. And they control the places that we're in now in the Western Hemisphere. Everybody know that Ashkenazi control America. All right, Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood on how the peace treaty never come about between us and Ashkenazi from the Babylonian Wars, and how it need to be a settlement, and need to be a peace treaty, and it need to come through the Israelite Brotherhood. You know, the peace treaty need to come through the Israelite Brotherhood. Man, it need to come through the Israelite Brotherhood. All right, and when you see that 595 BCE, that's when, you know, the book of Ezekiel explained the first part, and then the book of Jeremiah explained the last part of it when we was driven off the land. And for you Israelites that's believing in that 10 lost tribes, you won't qualify for the peace treaty when it come about, because you wasn't around during the Babylonian Wars, and they ain't got nothing to do with you. All right, Israelites, this is a message from the Israelite Brotherhood. You Israelites, think about this, and then thank you, Israelites, for supporting the Israelite Brotherhood, and spread the message. Get other Israelites to subscribe, and then let's grow together. And it ain't gonna be too long for a spot come about. Man, I can only wait till Almighty y'all make it come about, because man, I lack the resources. Man, it's like a man like Samson trying to, take the building down by itself. I mean, that's how it is with this. There's some Israelites that, willing to help, and they help, but I'm gonna need your help when we get this headquarters popping off. All right, Israelites, much love to the Israelite community, and I pray that everybody's doing all right, and much love to the Israelite Brotherhood family. Shalom to everybody. Man, there never was a peace treaty between us and Ashkenazi from the Babylonian Wars, and I just proved that Ashkenazi was the Scythians, and that they was the ones that, man, they come in and got us out of there. All right, Israelites.